I am. So, today we're going to learn about standard deviation. So, we've been doing everything about probability so far. Everything we've been learning about is probability so far. This is the last lesson before our test, standard deviation. So, let's talk about standard deviation. Let's do a problem, and maybe I'll explain it. First of all, before we learn standard deviation, we need to learn mean. So, let's give a situation. The following data are grades for 2 students. Find their mean grade. And mean grade means GPA. Mean means average. Remember, mean, Lindsay Lohan, average. That's right. So, let's find their mean. Let's take a look. One student, first student, Algebra 1, he has a C. Then Biology C, PE C, History C, Art C, and English C. Remember, GPA, A is 4 points, B is 3 points, C is 2 points, F is 1 point, or D is 1 point, and F is 0 points. Therefore, C is 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and 2 points. So let's find the mean, average. If you don't remember, the symbol for mean is X with the bar on top. To find the mean, you add up all the numbers, divide by the number of numbers. So let's add up all the numbers. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Divide by the number of numbers. How many numbers do we have here? We have 6. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 divided by 6 is going to be 12 over 6, which is 2. That means the mean, his GPA is 2, which makes sense. If you get all C's, of course you have a C average. All right, second student, a little bit more realistic. Student, Algebra 1, F. Biology, F. PE, A. History, A. Art, A. And English, F. Let's take a look and find his GPA or his average. F, you get 0 points. Biology, 0 points. PE, 4 points. History, 4 points. Art, 4 points. And English, 0 points. Let's find his mean. Add up all the numbers, divide by number of numbers. So 0 plus 0 plus 0. Oh, sorry. 0 plus 0 plus 4. Plus 4 plus 4 plus 0 divided by number of numbers, which is 6. That makes 12 over 6. That makes his mean average to be 2. So their GPAs are the same. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Is there a big difference if I told you, oh, my GPA is a C, and someone else says my GPA is a C, and these are their grades? It's a big difference. Which one would you rather have? Take a look. Think carefully. All C's is actually really a lot better, because as the college transcripts, you look at all C's, it looks a lot better, it looks more consistent that you're an average student. This one doesn't look like you're an average student. The second student, he looks like he does well in like some classes, but as the class gets harder or more challenging, he seems like he does really, really bad. Also, the first student has all his, he's able to graduate, has all his credits. The second student only has 3 credits of class, while the other 3 classes has no credit. So the first one's a lot better, but if you just look at the GPA alone, or just look at the mean alone, does that tell you that? So what can I do to figure this out? Which one is actually better or not? There's something called standard deviation. And what standard deviation does is it tells you the numbers, they look at all the numbers and they want to show you, well, are these numbers close together or all the numbers far apart? If you look at student A, all his numbers are close together. It's more consistent. A standard for student 2, all his numbers are fall apart, so they're not as consistent. So standard deviation shows if the numbers are going to be consistently close or far apart. The lower the standard deviation, the closer the numbers are together. The higher standard deviation, the farther apart the numbers are going to be. So let's take a look. How do you find standard deviation? Standard deviation, here's the formula. Standard deviation symbol is this. And it is the square root of the sums of all the numbers minus the mean squared divided by the numbers of numbers, where X with the bar is the mean. Wow, that's confusing, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do one problem. You might not understand it completely, but I'm going to show you the process, and then we're going to do another problem, and I'll explain the process to you. Does that kind of make sense? All right, let's do a problem. Let's go back to our 2 students. Let's find the standard deviation for each one of these students. And our mean. Remember, our mean was 2. We already figured that out. Before you do any standard deviation, you have to find the mean first. Let's start with student 2. Might as well. Let's look at student 2. So remember his score, 0, 0, 4, 4, 4, 0. To find the standard deviation, you need to find the square root of each one of these numbers minus the mean. So that would be 0 minus the mean, which is 2. This is the first one. That's algebra. Squared. Plus biology. 0 minus the mean. 2 squared. Great. Plus PE. 4 minus the mean. 2 squared. Plus history. 4 minus 2 squared. Plus, because the mean's the same, art. 4 minus 2 squared, and finally English, 0 minus 2 squared. Now the big question is, why do we have to square everything? Divide by number of numbers, which is 6. Why do we have to square everything? Just take a look. What is 4 minus 0 minus 2? That is negative 2, right? Over here, plus a negative 2 squared again. Plus 4 minus 2 is 2 squared. We're trying to find the averages of all the distance away from the mean. And if you look at this, if you look at the algebra, that distance is negative 2. Well, distance can be a negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to square it to make all the numbers positive. So we can add up all positive numbers. Then we're going to square root it to bring it back to where it's supposed to be. Does that kind of make sense? So over here, next one is going to be 4 minus 2. This is going to be history, which is 2 squared. The next art, 2 squared plus 2 squared. And finally, English, which is negative 2 squared. Divide by numbers of numbers, which is 6. The standard deviation is the square root of negative 2 squared is 4 plus negative 2 squared plus 2, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So 4 plus 4 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Divided by the numbers of numbers. 4 plus 4 plus 4 6 times is 24. Divided by 6 is the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So the standard deviation is 2 for student number 2. Sound good? All right, we're going to do that same exact thing for student number 1 now. And then we're going to compare what the answers mean, because the most important is not getting the answer, is understanding what the heck did we get, right? What does that mean, what we just got? All right, take a look. Let's do the exact same thing with student number 2. Remember, the mean for student number 2 is 2. Same thing. All these are 2's, points. So let's go through this. Standard deviation is the square root of the average of the means. Average of the distances. 2 minus 2. Number, first one, algebra, minus the mean, squared, plus biology, minus the mean, squared, plus PE, minus the mean, squared, plus history, minus the mean, squared, plus art, 1, 2, 3, 4, art, minus the mean, squared, and English. Divided by numbers of numbers. Take a look. 2 minus 2 squared is 0. Plus 2 minus 2 squared is 0. Plus 0. Plus 0. Plus 0. Plus 0. Divided by 6. This is going to be square root of 0 over 6, which is 0, which is 0. For this standard deviation, it's equal to 0. Let's take a look at what that means. That means all the numbers are average of 0 apart from the mean. That means all the numbers are exactly the same. They're close together. Look at all the numbers. Aren't the numbers close together to the means? They're all 2. Look at this. This means, the student number 2 means the average of the means is 2 away. That means look at all these numbers. 0 is 2 away from the mean. 0 is 2 away from the mean. 4 is 2 away from the mean. 4 is 2. The averages of the distance away from the mean is around 2. So standard deviation of 2 means his scores, his grades fluctuate 2 grades up and down. This guy, his scores don't fluctuate at all. They're exactly the same. They have 0 fluctuation. Does that kind of make sense? The smaller the standard deviation, the more consistent the score. The bigger the standard deviation, the more erratic the scores, the more high and lows they have. Let's do one more problem, and that's it. And then we'll practice tomorrow in class. Alright, sorry about that. So the next problem. The following data is how many points Joe scored in the last 5 basketball games. Find the standard deviation. So let's find the standard deviation of this problem. First of all, before you find any standard deviation, you need to find the mean. Good. You need to find the mean. So let's find the mean together. If you already know how to do it, go ahead, pause, and do it. If not, follow along. To find the mean, you add up all the numbers, 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 20 plus 5. Divide by the number of numbers, which is 5. That means the mean is 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 10. 7, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. It looks like 50 over 5. That means the mean is 10. Everyone got that? Can I erase it? Double check it. 15, 20, 30, 40, 50. It looks good. The mean is 10. Let's write that down. Alright, let's find the standard deviation. The standard deviation is the square root of the difference of all the numbers, the distance of all the numbers, squared, divided by numbers of numbers, and square root it. So 7, first number, minus the mean, squared, plus 8, minus the mean, squared, plus 10, minus the mean, squared, plus 20, minus the mean, squared, plus 5, minus the mean, squared. That's 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, divided by a number of numbers, which is 5. Standard deviation equals the square root of 7 minus 10 is negative 3 squared, plus negative 2 squared, plus 0 squared, plus 10 squared, plus negative 5 squared, divided by the number of numbers, which is 5. Standard deviation equals the square root of, this looks like 9, plus 4, plus 0, plus 100, plus 25, divided by 5. Alright, let's add them all together. 9 plus 4 is 13, plus 100 is 113, plus 25 is 138, divided by 5. That's going to be square root of 27.6, which is a standard deviation of, in your calculator, my calculator doesn't have square root, just kidding, 5.25. That means we have an average of 5.25 away. Let's take a look. You see how this is like 2 away, 3 away, then 0 away, then 10 away, then 5 away. So it looks like average of 5.25 away, right? How do you feel? That's standard deviation. This is a big fluctuation, right? If you look at the numbers, they fluctuate a lot. All right, good. That's it for today. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.